Hey everyone, this is Kevin from Kevin's Micro Fleet. Today I've got a Micro Galaxy Squadron review. We're going to be taking a look at a Jazwares Vault exclusive, the Series 8 Starfighter class collection. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the figures, at the vehicles, at the packaging. We'll do some measurements and we'll do a comparison. Let's go ahead and dive into the review. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. So this is for your Starfighter class collection, and ultimately this is a massive box. So if you were to actually order this item individually, it would come in this shipper box, and there would be a label stuck on the front of it. So because I got this with multiple items, it was shipped in a larger box, and this one is still intact. But here is what it would look like. So you got Jazwares Vault there on that side, just black on the bottom, and then there's nothing on the back. Now, the one great thing about this specific collection is Jazwares Vault right now is finally doing actually a combo or bundle deal. If you were to get the light armor class for Series 8 and the Starfighter class together, they do offer a discount. So I would go over and check that out. It's a great way to be able to get the chases and rares, which were very difficult to find in stores, at least the chases were. So this one does include the AAT battle tank, which we're going to see here very shortly. And again, that was very difficult to find. Didn't really hit retail at a very high amount like we have seen in previous waves. But let's go ahead and break this thing out of the box. So I've already got this thing cut open. And so now here on the inside, they do a great job here of adding these little pieces of cardboard here to protect this interior packaging, which actually does have the item in it. So now we'll go ahead and slide this guy out. And here we go. So now on the one side here, we have our V19 Torrent. I actually love this ship, and I'm so happy that they actually made this and have produced this just because it's so cool and unique. But you can see here, it's got Starfighter class collection, Micro Galaxy Squadron, got a little Airbash Series 8 up there in the top corner. As we turn this thing around, we get some more box art. So we get a chance to see the TIE silencer, Kylo Ren's vehicle, and that is that. So now let's go ahead and open this thing up so we can see what the interior packaging looks like. Now this box is not taped, so we get a chance to be able to open this guy up. And here it is. So here is your Series 8 Starfighter class collection, and you can see here on the front we've got 14 pieces. This box is just so huge. And then you got Series 8 there in white. This is white now. They had changed the colors there for a number of series, and then they had just stopped doing that. So it would be great if they got back into adding that in there. Then you can see you got your Vault sticker there up in the corner, one of 1,500. And then there is some Airbash and Micro Galaxy Squadron there on the bottom, as well as a little bit more there on the top. Now, really quick, I want to do some measurements. That way you get a chance to see how big this box is. So if you were going to try to keep this in the box, so you got 22 inches there from side to side. This thing is 13 inches tall, and it is about 4.5 inches wide. So if you're going to display this somewhere in your collection, that's how big the box is. So now let's go ahead and open this up. There is a little piece of tape right here on the bottom, which I've already cut. And so when you open this, you actually do have this nice piece of tissue paper in here, which helps to protect the packages. So the idea behind this packaging is that you're getting mint condition boxes. So those collectors that do like to have mint boxes, this would definitely be the way to go. So you can remove that tissue paper, and now we get a chance to see all of the vehicles that come with this. So you've got your chase and your rare there towards the top, and then you have all of your commons there on the bottom. Now, the other great thing about this is they do have this amazing artwork here in the background. I'll try to turn this so that you can see it a little bit better. This has a really awesome hollow foil finish to it, and it's got this comic book look. You've got there's your AAT tank. You've got your Headhunter here in the middle. Then you also have a V-Wing, and then you've got your V19, and you actually do have a droid fighter, tri-droid fighter there, and then you also have your silencer. So really cool that they include this art in the actual packaging, especially in this box. I wish there was a better way to be able to display this because the artwork is so great. It's kind of a bummer it just stays on the interior. It would be nice if we got that on the outside of the box somehow. But either way, that is that. Now, if you wanted to take these boxes out of here, which some collectors will want to do that, I do also, you can remove this piece right here to then be able to remove all of the items out of here. So that is your packaging and your boxes. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at each one of these vehicles individually. Now we have our Series 8 Starfighter class collection here all on the table. Before we get too deep into this, you can see I've got some of these guys up here on some flight stands. Those are actually available on my Etsy page in the link in the description below if you want to pick up flight stands for these vehicles. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to go from left to right, starting with our Armada Edition V-Wing. So one of the questions that we often get is, what does Armada Edition mean? Ultimately, this is a re-release of a previously released vehicle that either has updated deco or it's an evergreen vehicle that is something that could be used for a long time and a lot of people are going to want. So you can see it's got that Armada Edition sticker there on the top. It's got Revenge of the Sith. That's where this one is coming from. And then you can see here on the side it has Armada Edition as well. Number 63, and then we got our V-Wing. As we turn this thing around to the back, we get a chance to see the features of this vehicle. So it does have these wings that move. It's got a droid port in it, and then it does have these other little flaps there on the top, as well as an opening cockpit and some landing gear. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now, the first thing is when you get this thing, it is likely in its landed position where we're going to have the wings that rotate like this. So there's been a number of comments in some of the reviews about the wings not working correctly, or that's not really the way that they're designed. There are multiple versions of the way these wings work, and this design is really based more off of what we're going to see in Clone Wars than we are going to see in some of the movies, where they'll actually park this thing with the wings actually turned forward. But very cool mechanism here to be able to get these wings to pop in, so it can be in its flight position. Then we also have the flaps here on the top that open to be able to get a chance to see the actual droid. Now, this droid here is actually, I've got the wrong droid in there. This is the droid from the earlier version of the release that didn't have the paneling there on the top. And this is where the Armada Edition really comes into play. So you'll actually see this on the Armada Edition. You can see there's the droid with the panels there on the top of it. Then on the underside here, we actually have our landing gear. So we can be able to pull that landing gear out. And then also if you push up right here on the bottom, that's how you're going to eject your droid to be able to get him out of there. Finally, you have your opening cockpit there that will open up to be able to see the actual pilot. And that is all that you have with your V-Wing. So very cool vehicle, awesome to be able to get this thing in the line. Now, we're going to move on to our V19 Torrent. The V19 Torrent is one that really came from our Clone Wars cartoon, the Tartakovsky version, that was released out on Cartoon Network, and it is such a cool vehicle, so unique looking. And let's go ahead and take a look at it now. So there you can see Clone Wars on the top, Series 8 there on the side. Then you can see here on the bottom, V19 Torrent, number 173. We've got our pilot in there, and then our ship. As we turn this thing around to the back, you get a chance to see the different features and the way that the wings work, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. Then you've got your blueprint there and the other vehicles that are in the series. Now, as we go ahead and take this guy off the flight stand, there was a version of this that came out from the Vault, a first-to-market release that actually has some updated deco on this. And the great thing is this is a slightly different vehicle relative to that. So this is what it looks like in its flight position. It's got this one wing that's down. It's got our other wings out that are in their ready position to be able to fly. Now, these guns here that are on the front, these laser cannons, are a very soft plastic material. They do hold their shape relatively well, but if you do get them and they're bent, you can just heat them up lightly with a hair dryer and then hold it in position, and you'll be able to get those things to straighten out. So from a features perspective, You can pull these wings up so you can hear it's got that nice satisfying snap as it gets all the way up to its top position. And then also here on the bottom, you can see these little ridges here are going to be used to lock this thing in place. So we'll see, there it is in its full upright position. Now, the one thing that is interesting about this is it does have this engine glow on that one engine. So this is really the way that it should be displayed if you didn't have a flight stand. And so there you can see there is your blue there on the bottom, that engine glow. And your landing gear here is on the bottom. This is relatively hard to get out. I'm surprised that popped out so easy. But then you can set this thing down on the table like that, and it would be in its landed position. Now, obviously, this vehicle looks so much cooler when it's flying. So one of the reasons why I designed that flight stand is because I really wanted to be able to display this in its actual flight position like this because it's so cool looking. It does have an opening cockpit here as well, so you can go ahead and put your pilot in, and that is that. So now we'll go ahead and move on to our Kylo Ren's TIE silencer. This is another one that was actually a first-to-market vehicle. So they came out with, Jazwares released a first-to-market silencer that had updated deco on it, and it looks really, really nice. This version is great for the casual collector. If you were really deep into the line and you wanted to have something that had some premium deco on it, it really does have premium deco, and I would highly recommend picking it up if you can find it. So here you can see Kylo Ren's TIE silencer, number 172, The Last Jedi. It's got Series 8 there on the back, or on the side. And then you can see here that how the wings connect. So you can actually see here that the wings are not on the actual vehicle. There is this other piece that is separate. They did such a great job with determining where they wanted that connecting point to where you cannot tell that the wings are separate or that they came separate. It does look like a very seamless connection to the vehicle, which we'll look at here in a minute. Turn this around to the back. You can see the back here comes off to be able to expose the engine. You can put Kylo Ren there in the cockpit, and then there it's showing how those wings connect. So if you want to see a little more detailed version on how to connect the wings, you can check out the actual review for this vehicle that I have on the channel. Because once you get them on, they're not super easy to take off. So this thing is actually really big. It's one of those that, I was surprised to see how long the vehicle was front to back. And this is roughly 8 inches for what they consider to be a 5-inch vehicle. I guess you're getting 5 inches there side to side, so they're not really saying where in the dimensions that actually works, but either way. So again, once these wings can connect on, these front pieces connect on, they're very difficult to remove, although you can actually remove the whole side off just like that, and you can see there is your connector and how it goes back together. So you can only put the wings on one side, you can't really mix them up, so that helps. You do have your opening cockpit here as well. So there is the cockpit with Kylo Ren inside of it. And then again, as you can see on the packaging, you do have this back engine part that does come off, and it exposes some of this engine detail, which is really cool to be able to see. Not super necessary because it's obviously on the underside, but here is what Jazwares does always, which is providing detail where you just would never imagine it to be on the underside of that little panel. And this is a really cool vehicle. Not really my favorite TIE fighter, but great to be able to have this in the line and to be able to have 2 different versions of it with that premium deco one also. So now we're going to move on to our chase. We've got our Z95 Headhunter. So here we've got our one of 15,000. You get a chance to see the Headhunter in there. Then we actually have a named pilot here. This is Warthog. And then we got number 175 from the Clone Wars Series 8. Turn this thing to the back. There are a couple different cool hidden features to this, as I would consider it to be hidden features. The other thing that's very unique about this vehicle is this is the first vehicle that we got where it has a flight stand and landing gear. Most of Jazwares' stance on flight stands is they're only providing a flight stand if it's a vehicle that can't stand up on its own or it doesn't have landing gear. So unique here that we're getting both. It's going to have landing gear and it has that flight stand. Now, obviously, I have it on a different flight stand here. This is going to be your typical ball joint flight stand, and that's the one that they're using. It looks just like this one. Now, each one of these flight stands are slightly different, but in terms of the width of it, but the ball joint is the same and the height of it is the same. Now, I do have another flight stand that I designed that you can find on my Etsy page that is a ball joint that's taller if you wanted to display it that way. Okay, so here is our Z95, and this thing is really, really cool. So the one thing I like about this the most is just how slick it looks, really from this side view and from the front view, just how narrow it is side to side. And even though the wings are thinner, it's still very, very firm. I mean, it is really hard to move that wing. It's not really going anywhere. But the nice thing about this is because there's just so little to it, they have some really cool panels that can be removed to be able to see parts of the engine. So you have this one here right on the front. You also have one here on the back to be able to see more of the engine detail. Really cool, not super necessary, but I think it's just one of those things where they're adding some extra features to it, to something that doesn't really have a ton of features. Then here on the bottom there you can see is that peg hole, and then you have your landing gear. Now this is one of the vehicles, and this happened here in Series 7 and part of Series 8, where we have these gigantic tabs here to be able to open up the cockpit, as well as these little pieces to be able to open up the landing gear. I really hope they move away from some of that, just because it does take away from a lot of the aesthetic of the actual vehicle. And so when you're looking at it from the front here, you just see that giant tab sticking off the top, instead of being able to see this really slick looking Headhunter. Either way, that is your vehicle and all of the features. So now we'll move finally to our chase. So we've got our AAT battle tank. This is the CIS color. And you can see from Clone Wars, chase 1 of 5,000. We get our tank in there and our battle droid. Flip this thing around to the back. You get to see some of the different features to this. So it's got that rotating turret gun there on the top. It does have an opening cockpit, and then it also has an opening front cockpit, which we'll look at here in just a second. You got your little cutout, and then the other vehicles that come in the series. So now, as we take a look at this guy, a really incredible paint job here, and I love this colorway. To be able to have all of these different details and the logo and everything on there, the little burn marks there. I mean, this thing just looks really, really cool. Then from the underside also, to be able to get some paint detailing there on the bottom. This actually does have some wheels, and it does have this little piece here to be able to help it stand upright. So if you do set this thing down on the table, it does want to tip backwards. So I believe that this thing is really just designed there to be a little bit of a kickstand more than it's supposed to be a roller. But it would be nice to actually have a small wheel on that, so that if you were rolling this along, you're not just dragging that back end along with it. Now, if we're looking at this from a features perspective, it does have these guns here that are on the side that move. It does have this rotating turret gun here on the top that moves, as well as the laser cannon goes up and down. You have a cockpit here, which is kind of challenging to open just because the tab is so small. So kind of different between the tab of the Headhunter versus this one. It would be nice to have just slightly bigger, although not terrible to be able to open it. It does snap in place. And then you have this really cool front cockpit that opens as well. And this is an awesome piece to this. Actually has some detailing there on the inside of the part, which again, you would never really see. And very cool to be able to fit your droid inside there. You can put the droid up here on the top. He does kind of stick out the top, so you can't put him in there and shut the top down. But otherwise, that is your AAT tank. So that is your Series 8 Starfighter class collection. All of the vehicles that come with it. the packaging, all of the features of them. If you want more detailed description as well as comparisons and measurements, you can check out my other videos that I have here on the channel. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you want to pick up one of these flight stands, check out my Etsy page. And I look forward to catching everybody on the next review.